The tourist flight started peacefully. The elderly pilot politely gave seatbelt instructions, explained the route, and talked about aviation with a smile. Passengers thought he was a 70-year-old retired hobby pilot, until air pirates tried to hijack the plane. That's when everyone realized this man wasn't just an elderly pilot, but a legendary fighter with 40 years of F-22 Raptor experience who could single-handedly take down enemy fighter jets. Welcome to the Human Stories. Before we begin this incredible aerial combat and hidden identity story, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. These stories must not be forgotten. In the small town of Aspen, Colorado, at the modest airport nestled in the foothills, a man would arrive at the same time every morning. Captain James Morrison, 70 years old, gray-haired, with a kind smile and blue eyes. He carried a coffee thermos and wore an old leather pilot jacket. Morrison had been conducting tourist flights at this airport for 15 years. He had a small Cessna 172, seating 4, painted blue and white, with every part meticulously maintained. Usually families, couples, sometimes businessmen, would book flights to see the Rocky Mountain scenery. Morrison was a beloved pilot. He flew safely, spoke kindly with passengers, and shared interesting facts about aviation. Children especially loved him because he'd show them the control panel and sometimes let them hold the yoke. They called him Uncle Morrison. To the townspeople, he was just a retired, kind pilot. Maybe he'd worked for commercial airlines before, or perhaps served as a private pilot. Nobody asked for details, and he never volunteered them. Morrison's home had aviation books, airplane models, and a few old photographs, but no military badges, no medals, no military photos, as if he'd never had any connection to the military. His neighbors knew him as a modest, solitary retiree who loved books. He'd tend to his garden, do grocery shopping, and watch television in the evenings, an ordinary elderly man. But the truth was completely different. James Morrison had served in the U.S. Air Force from 1975 to 2015, 40 years, 137 enemy aircraft shot down, victorious in 23 air battles, one of the first F-22 Raptor pilots. Known by the call sign Ghost Pilot, he was the enemy's nightmare. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, covert operations. Morrison never spoke of any of it. After retiring in 2015, he'd left his entire past behind and chosen a quiet life. He'd kept this secret for 5 years. Until that day. Saturday morning, Morrison was checking his Cessna at the airport. Engine, fuel, control surfaces, everything was perfect. His passengers would arrive at 10 a.m. That morning he had 4 passengers, the Thompson family from Dallas. Father Mike, 45, Mother Sarah, 42, twins Emma and Jake, 12. They'd come to Aspen for their anniversary and wanted to take a Rocky Mountains tour. "Good morning," Morrison said with a smile. "I'm Captain Morrison. We're going to have a wonderful tour today." The children were excited. The parents politely thanked him. Morrison gave them a safety briefing, seatbelt instructions, emergency procedures. "Everything routine, everything normal. Our flight time will be approximately 45 minutes, Morrison said. "We'll fly at 14,000 feet altitude. You'll see Pikes Peak, Mount Elbert, and the Sawatch Range. Any questions? How long have you been working as a pilot?" Mike asked. Morrison smiled. "For a long time, over 50 years. "Wow, with commercial airlines, various places," Morrison said. He didn't go into details. The Cessna taxied to the runway. Morrison communicated with traffic control, received takeoff clearance. The engine sound was smooth and powerful. "Ready?" Morrison asked. "Ready," the children said. The Cessna lifted off smoothly. Morrison masterfully controlled the aircraft while describing the scenery to his passengers. The Thompson family was enchanted. "That's Pikes Peak you see ahead," Morrison said. 14,115 feet high, one of Colorado's most famous mountains. 15 minutes later, they reached cruise altitude. Morrison engaged autopilot and turned around. "Children, would you like to see the instrument panel?" Emma and Jake nodded enthusiastically. Morrison showed them the simple controls: altimeter, airspeed indicator, compass. The children were mesmerized. "Captain Morrison," Sarah said, "you really seem very experienced, like you've been doing this job for a very long time." Morrison smiled. "Experience comes with time. Everything was perfect until the radio crackled. "Unknown aircraft, this is Falcon Leader. You are in restricted airspace. Change heading immediately, or you will be engaged." Morrison frowned. "Very strange. This airport area wasn't restricted airspace. What are they saying on the radio?" Mike asked. "Routine traffic control," Morrison said, but internally he'd gone into alert mode.
2 minutes later, 4 fighter jets surrounded the Cessna. What are they? F-16s. 4 of them. They were flying formation around the Cessna. The Thompson family looked out the windows in amazement. Wow, Jake said. Real fighter jets. But Morrison's face had turned serious. These F-16s weren't US Air Force. The markings on them were wrong. The radio crackled again. Civilian aircraft. Follow us immediately. Do not deviate. Any resistance will result in destruction. The accent was foreign. Morrison immediately understood. Air pirates. Probably foreign operatives trying to hijack the Cessna. Captain Morrison, Sarah said anxiously. What's happening? Morrison stayed calm. Small problem. We'll handle it. But those planes, don't worry. Morrison's mind was working rapidly. 4 enemy F-16s. They were probably trying to take the Cessna to an undetermined location. Terrorist operation. Kidnapping or worse. Under normal circumstances, as a civilian pilot, the only thing he could do was comply. But Morrison wasn't a normal civilian pilot. Captain Morrison, Mike said. Why aren't you complying with them? Morrison turned around. He looked at the Thompson family. Innocent people, their vacation, their children. They weren't responsible for this situation. Listen to me, Morrison said in a calm but serious tone. What I'm about to tell you will sound very strange, but you need to trust me. What do you mean? Sarah asked. I'm not just a tourist pilot. I'm former Air Force, and I can handle this situation. Mike's eyes widened. Air Force. I was an F-22 Raptor pilot. For 40 years, the Thompson family looked at each other in amazement. But this is a Cessna, Mike said. Morrison smiled. An aircraft is just a tool. What matters is the person using it. The radio crackled again. Civilian aircraft, this is your final warning. Follow us now. Morrison took the microphone. Falcon leader, this is Ghost pilot. Back off immediately. Silence came from the other end. Then a shocked voice. Ghost pilot. Impossible. Ghost pilot is retired. Morrison's smile turned cold. Retirement is temporary. Skill is permanent. One of the F-16s approached the Cessna. The pilot was visible, threatening. Morrison stayed calm. Children, he said to Emma and Jake, keep your belts tight. This is going to be a fun flight. Fun? Sarah asked in panic. Very fun, Morrison said. He took control. 40 years of experience kicked in. Morrison's body went into autopilot mode. Reflexes, muscle memory, instinct, everything was ready. When the first F-16 got cannon lock, Morrison yanked the Cessna hard right. G-force pressed the family into their seats. What are you doing? Mike shouted. Trying to stay alive, Morrison said calmly. The Cessna's maximum speed was 124 knots. The F-16's maximum speed was 1,320 knots. Under normal circumstances, escape was impossible, but Morrison wasn't a normal pilot. He put the Cessna into a spiral dive around Pikes Peak. Narrow canyons, sharp turns, dangerous altitude changes. The F-16s couldn't follow due to their speed. Incredible, Jake said. Just like a video game. Jake, Sarah yelled. Morrison opened the radio. Mayday, mayday. This is N-284T7X. Under attack by hostile aircraft. Requesting immediate assistance. The response came. N-284T7X. This is Buckley Air Force Base. We have fighters en route. Hold position. Negative, Morrison said. I'm taking evasive action. 2 minutes later, 2 real US Air Force F-22 Raptors arrived. Morrison smiled when he saw them. F-22s, his old aircraft. Ghost pilot, this is Eagle leader, the F-22 pilot said. We have visual on hostiles. Permission to engage. Eagle leader, this is Ghost pilot, Morrison said. Negative, I got this. Sir, you're in a Cessna. Morrison's smile widened. Watch and learn, kid. Hammerhead stall. Knife edge pass. Inverted flight. He pushed the Cessna to its physical limits. The Thompson family was in awe. This elderly man was using the aircraft as if it were an F-22 Raptor. As the first enemy F-16 tried to catch the Cessna, Morrison executed a sudden climb. The F-16 pilot couldn't handle the high G-force and went into a stall. One down, Morrison said calmly. The second F-16 tried to fire its cannon, but Morrison performed terrain following flight. Flying between canyon walls with only a few feet of clearance, the F-16 couldn't follow and had to pull away. 2 down. The third and fourth F-16s coordinated, but Morrison was expecting them. He executed a split-cess maneuver, then a barrel roll. 40 years of experience, 147 air-to-air kill experience. The F-16s lost formation, got too close to each other. After a near miss, they panicked. Okay kids, Morrison said. Class is over. The F-22s escorted the enemy F-16s away. The enemy pilots surrendered. Morrison smoothly landed the Cessna at Aspen Airport. When the Cessna reached its parking position, the airport was filled with FBI, Air Force security and media. The Thompson family was still in shock. Captain Morrison, Mike said. Who are you really? Morrison shut down the engine and turned to them. I'm just Uncle Morrison, hobby pilot. No, Sarah said. You're a legendary fighter. Morrison smiled. I used to be. Now I'm just an old man. FBI agent Johnson approached the aircraft. Captain Morrison, we need you to come for a briefing. Of course, Morrison said. He turned to the Thompson family. I promise you this incident won't leak to the media. It will remain on record as a normal tourist flight. But people should know, Mike said. You're a hero. Morrison shook his head. said. "No, I just did my job." Emma hugged him. "Uncle Morrison, you're the coolest pilot ever." Morrison smiled. "Thank you, sweetheart." That day, the news reported security exercise at Aspen Airport. The Thompson family had taken a tour with a different pilot due to a route change. Morrison returned to his normal routine. The next day, he was conducting tourist flights again, speaking kindly with passengers, being modest. But at the Pentagon, Air Force commanders were meeting to recall Morrison. "Ghost pilot is still active," General Williams said. "Let's cancel his retirement." "No," Morrison said in the phone call. "I'm retired. I just happened to be there that day by chance." "Jim, you took down 4 F-16s with a Cessna at age 70. This isn't just chance." Morrison smiled. "General, I'm Uncle Morrison now. Hobby pilot." That's it. He hung up the phone. Because Morrison understood. Real power isn't being powerful. It's no one knowing you're powerful. The Thompson family visits Morrison every year. The children call him Super Pilot Uncle. Morrison shows them the Cessna, talks about aviation, and he never tells them the maneuvers that aircraft performed that day, because some stories shouldn't be told. They should just be lived. Uncle Morrison, tourist pilot, ghost pilot, F-22 legend, all the same man, all the same story. Have you ever encountered someone like this? Someone who appeared ordinary but had a legendary past? Share in the comments, because at the Human Stories we believe that real legends live quietly. If you like this story, subscribe and share. Stories of people like Morrison deserve to be heard. See you in the next story. Until then, pay attention to the elderly pilots you see at small airports. Maybe they too have untold stories in the sky.